A dog was about to bid farewell to his owner, Porifia, when he sensed something amiss and intercepted the doctor at the last moment. The loyalty of a four-legged companion can mean the difference between life and death, when an animal's instincts detect what humans cannot. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and comment with where you're watching from. The fluorescent lights of Mexico City's General Hospital cast a ghostly glow over Max, the Belgian Malinois, whose brown coat shimmered faintly as he remained motionless beside the intensive care bed. His pointed ears twitched subtly, capturing every sound in a room where silence was broken only by the rhythmic beeping of the monitors. The police dog had not left his post since Ana Lopez had been admitted 3 days earlier. Ana lay unconscious, connected to a tangle of medical devices monitoring her vital signs. The officer had been gravely injured during an undercover operation at Benito Juarez International Airport, which had ended in disaster. While no one knew the full details, rumors among the police staff spoke of an ambush. Suddenly, Max lifted his head, muscles taut beneath his coat. Something had shifted in the air. He sniffed insistently, detecting a scent that did not belong to the usual mix of antiseptics and medications. His amber eyes fixed on the door just as Dr. Ramiro Garcia entered the room. The doctor advanced with measured steps toward the bed, absently reviewing the chart hanging at its foot. "Just a routine check," he murmured to the nurse accompanying him, pulling a syringe from his pocket. Max let out a low, almost imperceptible growl. As Dr. Garcia approached the IV drip, preparing to administer the injection, the dog's acute senses detected a foreign chemical, a sharp, artificial odor that triggered every internal alarm. The growl deepened, forcing the doctor to pause. The attending nurse tried to soothe the dog with gentle words, but Max's gaze remained locked on the syringe, his fur bristling along his spine. "Don't worry, this happens sometimes with police dogs. They're overly protective," the nurse commented, stroking Max without calming him. The doctor continued forward, but something about his movement seemed contrived, rehearsed. Max could sense it. The dog perceived an invisible threat that no one else in the room seemed to notice, as though a lurking shadow hovered over his unconscious owner. When the doctor finally extended his hand toward Ana's catheter, Max tensed every muscle, ready to act on instinct. His loyalty to his human companion outweighed any protocol or restraint. Determination blazed in his eyes. No one would harm Ana while he was there to protect her. Those present exchanged glances, interpreting Max's behavior as grief over the apparent impending farewell of Ana Lopez. The officer remained motionless in her bed, her monitors recording weak but steady vital signs. Yet the Belgian Malinois' instinct ran far deeper than mere sorrow. As Dr. Garcia approached with the syringe, Max reacted with astonishing speed. He positioned himself between the doctor and his owner, baring his teeth in a clearly defensive stance. A low, threatening growl seemed to freeze the air in the room. "Easy, buddy," the doctor tried, stepping back with visible nervousness. "I'm just going to administer her medication." Nurse Carmen Martin, who had been monitoring the screens, cautiously approached the animal. "Come on, Max, let us do our job," she whispered, attempting to stroke his back. The dog did not yield an inch. His eyes remained locked on the syringe, radiating unwavering resolve. Every time the doctor attempted to move closer, Max intensified his growl, fur bristling along his spine. "I've never seen this dog behave like this," another nurse observed from the doorway. "He's always been calm during visits." Tension mounted. Dr. Garcia, visibly flustered, began to sweat, his hands trembling slightly as he held the syringe. "Perhaps we should call security," he suggested, avoiding the dog's penetrating gaze. "Or perhaps we should check what's in that syringe," intervened Dr. Lufia Chen, entering the room after hearing the commotion. The doctor's face turned pale. The head of neurology extended her hand with authority. "Allow me to verify the medication, doctor. After a brief hesitation, he handed over the syringe and left the room hastily, citing an emergency on another floor. Dr. Chen examined its contents, brow furrowed. "This is not what Anna's chart indicates," she murmured, turning the device over in her fingers. "We need to analyze this substance immediately." Max visibly relaxed once the doctor departed, yet he maintained his protective stance beside his companion's bed. Dr. Chen gently stroked the dog's head. "It seems your furry friend just saved your life, Anna," she murmured. "This isn't ordinary medication, it's something of dubious composition." The staff exchanged concerned glances. What had appeared to be a loyal dog's final farewell had transformed into the first clue of a conspiracy only beginning to unfold. The incident involving Dr. Ramiro Garcia quickly became the subject of whispered conversations in the corridors of Mexico City's General Hospital. Nurses exchanged knowing looks while security discreetly heightened surveillance in the ICU. No one dared formally accuse the doctor, who claimed the incident was merely a misunderstanding regarding the medication. Yet the substance found in the syringe had mysteriously vanished from the lab before analysis could be completed. Max remained motionless at Ana Lopez's bedside, his body taut like a violin string on the verge of snapping. His amber eyes never left the door for even a second. The Belgian Malinois barely accepted food from anyone except Dr. Lucia Chen, the only medical professional he seemed to trust. The head of neurology had taken the case under her personal supervision after the strange incident. "His loyalty is astonishing," she remarked, checking Anna's vital signs. "He seems to understand perfectly what's happening." Hours dragged by with suffocating slowness. As the sun set behind the buildings of Mexico City, the hospital lights dimmed and the night silence enveloped the corridors. A change of shift brought new faces, each of whom Max scrutinized with an almost supernatural intensity. After midnight, a man in a nurse's uniform whom Max had never seen appeared at the doorway. Instantly, the dog detected the same chemical scent he had noticed in Dr. Garcia's syringe. Without hesitation, Max became a force of nature. A deep primal growl rose from his core as he leapt at the intruder. His 80 pounds of muscle and resolve collided with the imposter's chest before he could even reach the bed. The man hit the floor with a thud, Max's teeth mere inches from his throat, not biting, but making the threat unmistakably clear. The commotion alerted security, who arrived immediately. The intruder, pinned under the dog's weight, had no choice but to surrender. Upon searching him, they found another syringe hidden in his pocket. "Get this dog off me!" he screamed in desperation as Max maintained his position, growling at every futile movement. Dr. Chen, summoned urgently, observed the scene with a mix of astonishment and concern. She personally secured the syringe as evidence and ordered immediate analysis. "No one touches this patient without my explicit authorization," she declared firmly, patting Max's head. The dog finally returned to Anna's side, vigilant as ever, fully aware that the threat was far from over. At 3 a.m., Mike Hernandez's phone vibrated. Half asleep, he saw General Hospital on the screen and felt his heart skip a beat. He had been dreading this call for days, yet the voice on the other end did not inform him of Ana Lopez's death. It was something far stranger. His dog had attacked the on-duty doctor. "Max, are you sure?" he asked incredulously, dressing hastily. That dog would never attack without reason. 30 minutes later, Mike passed through the hospital's automatic doors. The scent of disinfectant churned his stomach as he headed to the ICU, where he found Max seated beside Anna's bed, eyes fixed on the door as if standing guard. Upon seeing Mike, the Belgian Malinois barely wagged his tail, but did not abandon his post. "I've never seen him like this," a nurse said. "It's as if he knows something we don't." Mike approached Max, crouching to stroke his neck. He had known the dog since he was a puppy and had witnessed the unique bond he shared with Anna. If Max had reacted against Dr. Garcia, there had to be a reason. "Where's the syringe the doctor was carrying?" Mike's police instincts kicked in. While waiting for preliminary analysis results, Mike noticed a woman in a white coat watching them from the corridor. Dr. Lucia Chen approached with purposeful strides. "I'm the head of neurology and a friend of Anna's," she introduced herself, extending a hand. "I think you need to see something." She led him to her office where security footage from the past 3 days played on the computer screen. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a man in a medical uniform entering the ICU outside normal hours. The recording continued. He left 15 minutes later, never logging his visit in the system. Mike leaned closer to the screen, brow furrowed in concentration. He noticed subtle details, shifts in medical equipment, unidentified visitors, movement patterns inconsistent with hospital protocols. "There have been too many incidents on this floor," Dr. Chen continued in a lowered voice. "Power failures, tampered records, unauthorized personnel. I thought they were coincidences, until I saw Max's reaction." The officer nodded, sensing the pieces finally beginning to fit together. He looked at the neurologist with renewed determination. "We need access to all entry and exit logs as well as the full security footage," he said, pulling out his phone. "And I want a permanent guard posted in Anna's room." "Do you think someone is trying to harm her?" Lucia asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. "What I believe," Mike replied as they returned to the ICU, "is that Max has just become the most important witness in this investigation." Max abruptly stopped in the corridor of Mexico City's General Hospital, ears perked and muzzle raised, sensing something imperceptible to anyone else. Mike Hernandez studied the Belgian Malinois, recognizing the posture he had seen countless times during police operations. "What is it, buddy?" the officer asked, crouching beside the dog. Max turned his head toward a side corridor and advanced with unwavering determination. Dr. Lucia Chen exchanged a meaningful glance with Mike before following. The head of neurology had learned to trust the Malinois' instincts as much as her own medical judgment. "If Max has detected something, we need to investigate," she whispered as they walked down increasingly deserted hallways. The dog led them to a metal door in the building's basement. A sign read, "Supply storage, authorized personnel only." Mike checked. It was locked, but Max scratched insistently at the surface. "There must be another way in," murmured Mike, examining the perimeter until he located a partially loosened ventilation grate. After prying it open, Mike slipped in first, followed by Dr. Chen. Max leapt gracefully behind them, landing silently on the concrete floor. The chemical odor that had alerted the dog days earlier now filled the air. "My God!" Lucia exclaimed, turning on her phone's flashlight. "This isn't just a storage room." Before them stretched shelves lined with neatly folded medical uniforms, laminated ID badges, and blank hospital forms. Mike inspected one of the coats. It was identical to official attire but lacked the security micro-embroidery. "Counterfeit," the officer confirmed. "Someone has set up an operation to infiltrate the hospital." Dr. Chen approached a laptop abandoned on an improvised table. After several attempts, she accessed the system. "Mike, look at this," she said, her voice trembling. "They've altered all of Anna's medical records. According to this database, her condition is far more critical than it actually is." Mike scrolled through the files while Max continued sniffing the area, growling at certain objects. "And here are the ICU access logs," the neurologist continued, swiping across the screen. "At least 7 nighttime entries don't correspond to any official shifts." Tension thickened as they discovered a list of names, including several police officers and hospital personnel. "This is bigger than we thought," Mike murmured, photographing every document with his phone. "It's not just Dr. Garcia, it's a whole network operating inside the hospital." Max barked softly, alerting them to approaching footsteps in the corridor. It was time to move, but now they had proof that Ana Lopez's life remained in danger. At Benito Juarez International Airport, Mike Hernandez walked alongside Max through the same hallways Anna had traversed days before. The Belgian Malinois moved with his nose to the ground, following an invisible trail clear only to him. "Are you sure this will work?" Dr. Lucia Chen asked, accompanying them despite the curious glances her medical coat attracted. Mike adjusted his badge. "Max is never wrong. Anna was investigating something here. He will find it." The dog moved methodically, ignoring travelers who stepped aside. Suddenly, he stopped in front of a row of metal lockers, ears tense, letting out a low whine. His behavior shifted dramatically. He began scratching insistently at one locker door. "Here," murmured Mike, kneeling beside him. Once they obtained the necessary authorization to open the locker, they found a small empty space, save for a crumpled receipt at the bottom. Mike examined it carefully. "It's from an airport cafe," he said, frowning. "But look at this." He pointed to notes scribbled on the back, coordinates and an alphanumeric code hastily scrawled. "Looks like an access key," observed Lucia, adjusting her glasses. Anna had been tracking something big, something she didn't want to document officially. Meanwhile, at the hospital lab, the neurologist had left the syringe Max had stopped from being used on Anna for analysis. The results came through to her phone while they were still at the airport. "Incredible," she murmured, showing the screen to Mike. "It's a chemically modified sedative. It wouldn't kill Anna, but it would keep her in an indefinite coma. Someone wanted to silence her without raising suspicion." Max whined softly, as if understanding the gravity of the discovery. The dog had saved his owner from a fate worse than death. Trapped in her own body, conscious but unable to communicate. "This goes beyond a simple attack," Mike concluded, carefully placing the receipt into an evidence bag. "They wanted to keep her alive but silenced. Anna must have uncovered something that could incriminate someone powerful." Dr. Chen stroked Max's back as he stared intently at the receipt, as if deciphering its meaning. "What did you discover, Anna?" she whispered. And more importantly, who would go to such lengths to keep this a secret? After 5 days of constant vigil, a faint movement in Ana Lopez's fingers caught Max's attention. The Belgian Malinois, who had not left his owner's side since the incident, perked up his ears and let out a soft whine. The room, bathed in the dim glow of the afternoon, seemed to hold its breath as the officer's eyelids began to flutter. Dr. Lucia Chen, monitoring her vital signs, was the first to notice. With precise movements, she adjusted the lights and called Mike Hernandez, who had dozed off in a nearby chair. "She's responding," the neurologist whispered, leaning over the bed. Max, guided by the intuition only animals possess, drew closer to Anna, his muzzle gently brushing her motionless hand. Responding to that familiar contact, the patient's eyes slowly opened, initially disoriented, then fixed on the white ceiling of the hospital. "Anna, can you hear me?" Mike asked cautiously, wary that any sudden movement might unsettle her. The officer turned her head slightly. Her gaze, blurred by medication, reflected a visceral terror that froze everyone present. With visible effort, her dry lips parted as her hand sought Max's fur desperately. "Den, inside the police," she articulated in a barely audible whisper before her eyes closed again, overcome by exhaustion. The brief but devastating message landed like a ton of bricks on Mike. He backed against the wall, his mind racing with the implications. If Anna was right, the threat came from someone close, perhaps even a colleague with whom they shared morning coffee. "We need to increase security," he murmured to Dr. Chen, "and limit access to this room." As they discussed the measures to take, Max tensed noticeably. His ears pricked and a low growl vibrated in his throat. Approaching down the corridor were firm footsteps. 3 security agents sent by Captain Pedro Garcia to reinforce Anna's protection. The dog positioned himself strategically between the door and the bed, his posture rigid and wary. Though the newcomers wore official uniforms and legitimate IDs, something about them triggered the dog's protective instincts. Mike watched Max's reaction, a chill running down his spine. If the dog, whose instincts had proved infallible, distrusted the new guards, Anna's warning carried an even more immediate and dangerous significance than they had imagined. The surveillance room of Mexico City's General Hospital had become an improvised operations center. Mike ran his fingers through his disheveled hair as Dr. Lufia Chen pointed to the computer screen. The hospital's digital records displayed alarming patterns. "Look at this," the neurologist whispered, pointing to a series of nighttime accesses. "Someone has been deleting Anna's medical files and replacing them with altered versions." Mike nodded gravely. The entry times didn't match any official shifts, and several critical files had disappeared entirely from the main server. "This isn't the work of a single infiltrator," the officer noted, scanning the security footage. "There's an entire team operating from within." Dr. Chen adjusted her glasses, continuing her analysis. "They've specifically erased the original toxicology results. Someone with high-level administrative access is manipulating everything." In Ana Lopez's room, Max remained motionless beside her bed. His ears twitched subtly as he detected a sound in the hallway. The Belgian Malinois lifted his head, muscles tensing beneath his coat. It was nearly 3 in the morning when 2 men in nursing uniforms approached the room. They wore surgical masks and IDs around their necks. Yet Max immediately detected that familiar chemical scent. Silently, the dog positioned himself between the door and Anna's bed. When the first imposter reached for the door handle, Max lunged forward with a deep growl that echoed through the corridor. The man recoiled, surprised, as Max bared his teeth, fur bristling along his spine. The second intruder tried to bypass the dog, but the Malinois leapt at him, knocking him into an instrument table that crashed loudly to the floor. The commotion alerted the on-duty staff. Mike and Dr. Chen rushed from the surveillance room to find one of the fake nurses pinned by the dog while the other attempted to flee via the emergency stairs. "Security!" Lufia shouted as Mike pursued the fleeing man. When they searched the captured intruder, they found a syringe containing the same substance Dr. Garcia had tried to administer to Anna days earlier. "Max has saved Anna for the 3rd time," Dr. Chen murmured, stroking the dog's back as he returned to his position by the bed. The incident placed the entire floor on high alert. Security cordoned off the area and Mike returned, breathless. "Did he get away?" he asked, frustrated. "But now there's no doubt they're desperate to silence Anna." Max lay down beside the bed, eyes vigilant on the door. The conspiracy was larger and more dangerous than they had imagined. Captain Pedro Garcia arrived at the hospital with measured steps and a grave expression. His impeccable uniform contrasted with the chaotic atmosphere that had gripped the ICU since the recent incidents. With nearly 20 years on the force, the captain had seen it all, but Ana Lopez's situation genuinely concerned him. Max observed the newcomer intently, ears pricked, body taut. The Belgian Malinois sniffed the air discreetly as the captain approached Anna's bedside. To everyone's surprise, the dog showed no signs of aggression. He detected none of the chemical scent he had sensed in the others, a small victory amid pervasive distrust. "We need to speak in private," Pedro said, addressing Mike Hernandez and Dr. Chen. His tone brooked no argument. In a small conference room, the captain listened intently to the account of the strange events. His face remained impassive, but his eyes betrayed genuine concern. "This goes beyond a simple attack," he finally commented. "We need to protect Anna and continue investigating discreetly." Mike scrutinized every gesture of his superior with caution. Despite Max's apparent acceptance of the captain, he could trust no one. Anna's words echoed in his mind. Betrayal could come from anyone, even someone as close as Pedro Garcia. "With all due respect, Captain, I think we need to get Anna out of here immediately," Mike said firmly. "I have a secure location where we can take her while she recovers." Dr. Chen intervened. Medically, it's risky, but I can supervise her transfer if absolutely necessary. After a tense discussion, they finalized a plan. Anna would be transported by ambulance to an industrial warehouse on the outskirts of Mexico City, a facility occasionally used by the unit for tactical training. No one outside the small group knew its exact location. As preparations for the transfer continued, Mike observed Max refusing to leave Anna's side by even an inch. The dog had proven far more reliable than many humans wearing a badge. "Are you sure we can trust the captain?" Mike whispered to Dr. Chen as they watched Pedro coordinate the transfer operation. Lucia Chen shrugged. "Max hasn't reacted negatively to him. For now, that's all we have." At dusk, the ambulance quietly departed the hospital. Mike drove, nerves taut, while Dr. Chen monitored Anna's vital signs, and Max remained alert, as though sensing that leaving the hospital was merely the beginning of a far greater battle. The vehicle navigated the deserted streets of Mexico City with its lights off. Mike's eyes flicked constantly to the rearview mirror. In the back, Anna lay semi-conscious on the stretcher, her eyes half open while Max sat vigilantly beside her, ears pricked, eyes fixed on the rear window. As the ambulance turned a corner, two black cars appeared from nowhere, blocking their path. Mike muttered a curse and swerved sharply, but it was too late. 3 armed men leapt out and began firing at the ambulance's wheels. "Duck!" Mike shouted to Dr. Chen as he reached for his weapon. Max, however, was faster than them all. When one attacker forced the rear door, the Malinois pounced with predator-like precision. His fangs sank into the man's arm, eliciting a howl of pain. Immediately, Max detected the familiar chemical scent, the same one from the hospital, confirming his suspicions. The taste of metallic blood filled Max's mouth as he pinned the intruder to the asphalt. The man struggled, but the animal, trained for high-risk scenarios, would not release him. Mike used the distraction to neutralize another attacker, while the third fled toward one of the vehicles. "It's Gustavo!" Anna exclaimed, her voice weak but clear. Lifting slightly from the stretcher, the hospital's human resources administrator. Dr. Chen looked on in astonishment as the officer, despite her weakened state, had recognized the assailant. "Are you sure?" Mike asked, approaching the ambulance again, his gun trained on the man Max had subdued. "Completely," Anna replied, collapsing back in exhaustion. "I see him every day in the administration corridor. I never imagined he'd be involved." Max finally released the attacker as Mike handcuffed him and returned to Anna's side, gently licking her hand as if reassuring her that he remained her protector. "This confirms that the conspiracy runs deeper than we thought," Dr. Chen murmured, adjusting Anna's IV drip. "If the administrative staff is involved, anyone could be part of this." Mike nodded, dragging the detained man into the ambulance. "We need to interrogate him before his accomplices silence him," he said, glancing at Max with admiration. "If it weren't for this hero, we'd be dead by now." The dog remained watchful as the ambulance resumed its journey to the safe house. Betrayal had revealed a familiar face, making clear that the threat lurked in the most unexpected corners of the system. The hot, humid air of the industrial warehouse clung to the skin like a second layer. Ana Lopez struggled to breathe on the makeshift cot, while Dr. Lucia Chen carefully monitored her vital signs, a furrow of concern on her face. Once used for police training, the facility now served as the last refuge for the small team. Mike Hernandez paced nervously, fingers gripping his service pistol. Shadows cast by the sparse lights danced on the corrugated metal walls, forming threatening shapes that heightened the sense of imminent danger. "She needs more rest," whispered Dr. Chen, moistening Anna's dry lips with a gauze pad. "Her body is barely recovering from the coma." Mike nodded without taking his eyes off the warehouse's high windows. Sweat ran down his forehead as he mentally reviewed who might know the location. The list was short, but any leak would be catastrophic. Max, for his part, did not rest. The Belgian Malinois patrolled the perimeter tirelessly, Silent pause on the dusty concrete. His ears captured every outside sound, differentiating it from the steady drip of a rusty pipe and the hum of old fans barely moving the stifling air. "Do you think we'll be safe here?" Lucia asked, dabbing Anna's forehead with a damp towel. "For now," Mike replied without averting his gaze from the metal doors. "Few know this place. We used it for specialized training." Anna tried to sit up, but a wince of pain crossed her face. Her eyes, still marked by fatigue, reflected determination. "They have contacts everywhere," she rasped. "We can't trust anyone." Suddenly Max froze. His body tensed completely and a low growl rumbled from his throat. His eyes locked on the main entrance, conveying a clear message that everyone immediately understood. "Someone's coming," Mike whispered, extinguishing the nearest light. The hum of an engine shattered the silence outside. A vehicle stopped directly in front of the warehouse entrance. Max assumed a defensive stance, fur along his spine bristling. Lucia shielded Anna protectively as Mike positioned himself strategically, weapon at the ready. The dog remained statuesque, only flaring his nostrils to catch any familiar scent in the currents of air seeping through the cracks. The tension was almost tangible as the engine shut off and footsteps approached the main door. Max emitted a deeper growl. Someone had discovered their hideout. Captain Pedro Garcia entered the warehouse with measured steps, his face etched with the strain of the past few days. After ensuring that Ana Lopez and Mike Hernandez were safe, he closed the metal door and activated the improvised security system. Max, ever vigilant, scrutinized every movement, never lowering his guard for a second. "What I'm about to tell you must stay here," the captain began, seating himself across from Ana, who remained reclined on the makeshift cot. "The operation in which you were injured wasn't what we believed. It was a front for transporting illegal biological materials from the airport." Dr. Lufia Chen, adjusting Anna's IV, froze. "Biological materials? What kind exactly?" "Components for biological weapons," Garcia replied, his voice scarcely above a whisper. "Modified viruses, antibiotic-resistant bacteria, substances that could devastate entire cities if they fell into the wrong hands." Mike slammed his fist against the wall. "And who's behind this? Who inside the police force?" "I don't know for sure yet," the captain admitted, "but the network is extensive. It reaches all levels: police, hospital, even government officials." Anna tried to sit up, but pain forced her back onto the cot. "That's why they tried to silence me. I must have seen something, some face, some name." Max, as if understanding every word, nudged her hand with his muzzle. His amber eyes conveyed an almost human comprehension of the gravity of the situation. For the Belgian Malinois, this was not just another mission. It was a fight to protect his companion, his family. "The most concerning part," Garcia continued, retrieving a tablet from his jacket, "is that the next shipment is scheduled in 3 days. If we don't stop it, the material will leave the country." Dr. Chen examined the digital documents the captain displayed. "These transport protocols are identical to those used for organ transfers. They've been exploiting medical infrastructure as a cover." The oppressive heat of the industrial warehouse seemed to intensify with every revelation. Mike ran a hand through his sweat-drenched hair while Anna watched Max, who remained immobile yet alert. "We need concrete evidence," Anna said finally. "Names, dates, specific locations. Without that, we're working with theories." The captain nodded gravely. "That's why I'm here. I need your help. But most importantly," he added, looking directly at Max, "we need your abilities. That dog has shown he can detect what we cannot." Max, as if responding to the acknowledgement, perked his ears and let out a soft, approving growl. His mission was clear: protect Anna at all costs and help stop those who had tried to steal the most important thing in her life. The silence of the warehouse shattered with the sound of shattering glass. Max immediately rose, fur bristling, a deep growl rumbling from his throat. Anna, still weak but conscious, tried to rise as Mike drew his firearm. They found us! Shouted Dr. Chen, rushing to shield Anna. 3 armed men stormed in through different entrances. Unexpectedly, Joaquin Mendez, the administrative supervisor who had supposedly been helping them, drew a weapon from his jacket. The traitor had been leaking their location from within. "Freeze! Everyone!" Mendez commanded, aiming directly at Mike's head. "We only want Officer Lopez, the rest can leave." Max immediately detected the familiar chemical scent. Without hesitation, he lunged at one of the intruders, trying to approach Anna from behind. His powerful jaws clamped down on the attacker's arm, forcing a scream of pain as the man dropped a syringe identical to the one Dr. Garcia had attempted to use in the hospital. Chaos erupted. Mike fired a warning shot into the ceiling, sending everyone ducking for cover. Dr. Chen dragged Anna behind a metal column while Max positioned himself between them and any threat, eyes fixed on the assailants, ready to defend his owner at all costs. "Max, here!" Anna shouted, and the dog retreated to her side, still growling. Amid the gunfire, Dr. Chen noticed something glinting beneath an overturned table, a laptop. While Mike kept the attackers at bay, she slid over and grabbed it. "I've got something!" the neurologist exclaimed after frantically typing for a few minutes. Hidden folders revealed a detailed list of police officers involved in what they called Operation Chimera, the illegal transport of biological material that Anna had uncovered. Among the names were high-ranking officials, including Commissioner Javier Robles, Mike's mentor and father figure for years. "It can't be," Mike murmured, his face pale as he recognized the name. Meanwhile, Max had taken down another attacker. Supervisor Mendez attempted to flee, but the dog reached him in 3 strides, pinning him to the dusty warehouse floor. "I always knew you were special," Anna whispered, caressing Max as the ordeal ended. Exhausted but alert, he lay beside her, eyes intelligent and fixed on the door. Betrayal had come too close, but now they had names, and Max had once again proven that his loyalty was the most formidable weapon against the conspiracy. Mike dropped the digital folder onto the makeshift table. His normally composed face was now ghostly pale. Among the list of corrupt agents, one name struck like a dagger. Javier Montero, the man who had trained him in his earliest years on the force. "He was like a father to me," Mike murmured, rubbing his tired face. "He taught me everything I know about being a cop." Dr. Chen placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. Max, sensing Mike's distress, rested his head on his knee. "Betrayal hurts more when it comes from someone you admired," Anna said from her improvised cot. Her voice, though fatigued, carried a steely resolve. Max, attentive to every movement, repositioned himself beside her as if shielding her even from painful memories. "We have to act now," Mike declared, regaining his composure. "No matter who's involved, we need concrete evidence to expose the entire network." Anna attempted to sit up, Malinois' eyes unwavering upon her. "I remember fragments of that night at the airport," she began. "It wasn't an accident nor a failed operation." Her words captured the full attention of her companions. "I was tracking a suspicious shipment. When I discovered it contained biological material, I contacted headquarters directly." Her voice trembled slightly. "Half an hour later, someone tried to silence me. I recognized the voice giving the order over the radio. It was Commissioner Velasquez." Mike slammed his fist against the wall, causing Max to tense immediately. "The Commissioner! This goes higher than we imagined." Dr. Chen reviewed Anna's vitals, concerned at the strain of reliving the ordeal. "If the Commissioner is involved, we cannot trust official channels. We need irrefutable evidence and a plan to release it without interception." Anna reached out her hand toward Max, and the Belgian Malinois gently licked it. "The original files must still be on the hospital's main server," she suggested. "If we can retrieve them, we'll have proof of the tampering with my medical records and possibly more information about the network." Mike nodded, his resolve renewed, overriding the sting of betrayal. Then we go back to the hospital, he decided, stroking Max's coat. This time it's not just about saving your life. It's about exposing everyone responsible, no matter who they are. Tension hung thick in the air of the industrial warehouse. Ana Lopez, seated on the edge of a makeshift cot, reviewed the plan while caressing Max's fur. The Belgian had not left her side for a second, as if he feared that any lapse could cost her life again. The original files are our only concrete evidence, Mike explained, spreading a map of the General Hospital across a metal table. If the conspirators manage to destroy them, everything will have been for nothing. Dr. Lufia Chen nodded gravely as she prepared the portable medical equipment. Ana isn't fully recovered yet. This operation is extremely risky. We have no choice, Ana replied, rising with effort. Max emitted a soft whine as if understanding the gravity of the mission. Every passing minute was an opportunity for the evidence to vanish. Captain Pedro Garcia, having pledged his support after learning the extent of the conspiracy, checked his weapon before tucking it away. I have 2 trusted agents who will grant us access through the service entrance. No one must see us enter. As they drove toward the hospital in 2 separate vehicles, Max remained pressed against Ana, his eyes scanning every movement on the streets of Mexico City. The dog sensed both her fear and her determination. Approaching the hospital, a column of black smoke rose into the sky. Sirens pierced the air and dozens of people fled in panic along the surrounding streets. "My God!" Dr. Chen exclaimed from the front seat. "They've blown up the ground floor." Mike slammed the brakes 2 blocks from the building. "It's part of their plan. Destroy everything before we get there." The group quickly regrouped behind the vehicles. Max growled, taut as a drawn bowstring. The chaos presented both an opportunity and an added danger. "Change of plan," Ana commanded, her voice steadier than her frail body suggested. "We'll use the confusion to our advantage. Mike and I will go for the files. Lucia, stay with Captain Garcia and prepare an alternate escape route." Max barked once, seemingly protesting not to be included in the plan. Ana knelt before him. "You're coming with me, of course. You're my eyes and my nose." Through the smoke and confusion, the small team advanced toward the burning hospital. The conspirators had launched their final move, attempting to erase all evidence of their criminal network. What they did not know was that they faced a team with a secret weapon, a dog whose loyalty exceeded any human conspiracy. The toxic smoke filled the hallways of the General Hospital, yet Max, fur bristling, advanced decisively through the debris. The Belgian Malinois kept his nose to the ground, guiding the team through rarely used side corridors. His sharpened senses detected every potential threat before they became visible. Mike Hernandez followed close behind, weapon ready. "Trust him," he whispered to Dr. Lufia Chen, who supported Ana as they navigated the labyrinth of semi-destroyed hallways. The smell of burned chemicals and melting plastic filled the air, but Max never lost focus for a second. "This way," Mike instructed when Max stopped in front of a metal door. "The server room should be intact. It's built to withstand fires." Forcing the door open, they found themselves in a cold, computer-filled room. The explosion had spared this fortified section of the hospital. Dr. Chen helped Ana sit while Mike connected an external device to the main computer. "We have 5 minutes before the backup systems cut access," the neurologist explained, monitoring Ana's vital signs. Weak but lucid, Ana studied the screens with mounting agitation. "That name," she murmured, pointing to a file that appeared. "I recognize this code. It was part of the documents I photographed at the airport." Mike worked frantically, downloading every file related to the covert operation. Max remained at the door, ears twitching at every outside sound. He emitted a low growl as he detected approaching footsteps. "Someone's coming," the officer warned, accelerating the download. Ana closed her eyes, concentrating intensely. "I remember more now. I saw the deputy operations director meeting a foreign man at the private terminal. They exchanged briefcases, and then the commissioner, Velasquez, was signing falsified documents for the shipment. Dr. Chen held her friend's hand. "You're recalling the crucial details. This will confirm who's behind everything." The device beeped as the transfer completed. Mike disconnected it quickly while Max tensed, ready to protect the group. "We have what we need," Mike whispered. "Now we get out before they find us." Anna looked directly at Max, whose unwavering loyalty had repeatedly saved them. "Lead us, friend. Find a safe way out." The dog, as if understanding perfectly, headed for a ventilation grate in the corner of the room. His instincts would guide them to freedom and justice. Later, at the Federal Police Palace, lights gleamed ceremoniously as Anna, leaning lightly on a cane, walked down the central corridor. After weeks of recovery, the officer would finally receive recognition for her bravery during the airport operation. Max walked beside her with dignity, muscles tense beneath his glossy coat. Mike Hernandez and Dr. Lucia Chen flanked her, forming an improvised human shield. Mike's hand hovered near his weapon, eyes constantly scanning the hall filled with uniforms and formal attire. Dr. Chen discreetly held the device containing all the collected evidence. "You seem nervous," Mike whispered as they took their seats in the front row. "It's not nerves," she replied, adjusting the medal on her chest. "It's determination." Captain Pedro Garcia approached with a respectful nod. "Everything is ready for after the ceremony. The federal agents are waiting for the evidence." The hall buzzed with personalities, police chiefs, politicians, journalists, and family members of the honorees. Amid applause and speeches, Max remained alert, sniffing the air, ears twitching at every suspicious sound. Suddenly, the dog stiffened completely. His nostrils flared, picking up a scent undetectable to humans, the unmistakable chemical odor he had sensed at the hospital and during the ambulance attack. The essence drifted through the crowd, closing in on their location. Max turned his head toward a man in a dark suit moving along the side of the hall. The stranger carried a press badge, but his movements lacked the natural ease of a genuine journalist. His right hand remained rigidly tucked inside his jacket. Anna noticed the subtle shift in her canine companion's posture. "Max has detected something," she whispered to Mike, barely moving her lips. The dog's gaze was locked on the suspect, now approaching the main podium where Anna was soon to receive her medal. The chemical odor intensified with every step the man took. 3 rows back, dressed in black with a press credential, Mike discreetly indicated to Captain Garcia, who barely nodded before signaling 2 security agents. Max's eyes never left the man. His instincts, the same ones that had saved Anna countless times, screamed that danger was imminent. The ceremony continued, but for the loyal Malinois, time seemed frozen in a silent countdown to disaster. Max's instincts did not fail. In the midst of the ceremony, his nose detected the unmistakable chemical scent he had previously encountered at the hospital. Without hesitation, the Belgian Malinois surged into the crowd with a low, warning growl, alerting Ana Lopez. With millimeter-perfect precision, the dog leapt at a man in a police uniform who had lingered too close to the main podium. The suspect, caught off guard by the speed of the attack, failed to activate the device concealed under his jacket. Max clamped down on his arm with his powerful jaws as the man screamed in pain. Chaos erupted instantly. Screams filled the hall as people rushed toward the exits while officers drew their weapons, unsure of whom to target. "Get back! He has an explosive!" shouted Mike Hernandez, sprinting toward his canine partner. Dr. Chen shielded Ana with her body as Captain Pedro Garcia orchestrated the evacuation. The assailant, pinned by Max, could not reach the detonator that had fallen to the floor. When security agents finally restrained him, they discovered a homemade yet potentially lethal device. "It contains the same chemical components we detected at the hospital," confirmed the neurologist, maintaining a safe distance. Media cameras covering Ana's honor ceremony captured the entire scene. Within minutes, footage of the police dog neutralizing the attacker went viral across Mexico. What was meant to be a discreet celebration had become a public exposure of the conspiracy. The attacker was identified as a former officer expelled years prior but still tied to the criminal network. His capture, along with the evidence collected by the team, prompted the Attorney General's office to launch a large-scale investigation. Several high-ranking commanders were summoned to testify that very night. Anna, still weak but resolute, seized the media attention to present the documents recovered from the hospital. Speaking firmly to the cameras, she exposed the corruption that extended from the police headquarters to the hospital system, implicating figures who had previously seemed untouchable. "Today we do not celebrate a ceremony," she declared, stroking Max's back, "but the beginning of a cleansing. If I am alive, it is thanks to him. He saw what we could not." Mike and Dr. Chen flanked Anna, forming a united front before the public. The image of the three alongside the dog became a symbol of resistance against institutional corruption. The system that had sought to silence them now trembled under their testimony. The scandal shook Mexico City like an earthquake. News outlets focused exclusively on the story, while official investigations revealed the full extent of the conspiracy. Senior police officials, hospital administrators, and several prominent doctors were implicated in a sophisticated network trafficking in biological weapons. Federal agents uncovered clandestine labs where substances were modified for military use, with the hospital serving as both a cover and distribution hub. Ana Lopez watched the news from her apartment, still recovering from her injuries. She squeezed Mike's hand as images showed her former superiors being led out of headquarters in handcuffs amid flashes and shouting reporters. Betrayal had reached the highest levels of the police force. "I never imagined Captain Morales was involved," she whispered, recalling the man who had decorated her 3 years earlier. Dr. Chen, a frequent visitor, explained to the media how the manipulation of medical records had allowed the network to operate with impunity for years. Her testimony, combined with the evidence recovered from the hospital server, proved crucial in dismantling the organization. Meanwhile, Max had become Mexico's undisputed hero. His photo appeared on magazine covers and newspapers. The Belgian Malinois had saved not only his owner but potentially thousands of people by preventing the distribution of dangerous biological materials. Scientists at the National University studied his extraordinary olfactory abilities, capable of detecting chemical components imperceptible to any device. "Your dog could revolutionize security systems," remarked a specialist visiting Anna to meet Max. His keen sense of smell detected chemical anomalies that even our most advanced equipment could not have identified. Captain Pedro Garcia, one of the few senior officers untainted by the conspiracy, was appointed interim head of the unit. His first official decision was to establish a specialized department for the detection of hazardous materials, using Max as the model for training new police dogs. Mexican society followed the case with bated breath. Demonstrations outside the General Hospital demanded justice, while families of former patients called for the review of suspicious cases. The scandal had shaken public confidence in institutions, yet it had also created a symbol of hope. At night, when the cameras were gone, Max still slept by Anna's side, ever vigilant. For him, medals and accolades were meaningless. His only certainty was having fulfilled his duty to protect his companion from any threat, seen or unseen. 6 months after the conspiracy that rocked Mexico, Ana Lopez returned to the police headquarters. The scars on her face and arms bore silent witness to what she had endured, but her eyes radiated unwavering determination. The National Commissioner had entrusted her with command of the new special unit against criminal organizations, a recognition of her courage and commitment. "I never thought I'd walk through this building again without fear," she confessed to Mike Hernandez as they crossed the renovated lobby. He smiled, adjusting the badge that now identified him as the unit's deputy commander. Beside them, Dr. Lucia Chen, who had left her post at the General Hospital to join the team as a scientific advisor, reviewed documents on her tablet. "What matters is that we're in this together," the neurologist said, lifting her gaze. "And we have the finest four-legged lie detector." Max walked proudly alongside Anna, his coat gleaming under the lobby lights. The Belgian Malinois had received a special government commendation, becoming a national symbol of loyalty. School children knew his story, and his image appeared on police recruitment posters across the country. The new office occupied the entire top floor, with windows offering a panoramic view of Mexico City. Anna had insisted on an open layout, where everyone could work together without secrets or closed doors. Transparency was now their banner. Captain Garcia called and Mike checked his phone. "The remaining individuals implicated in the network will be prosecuted next week." Anna nodded, absently stroking Max's head as she gazed over the urban horizon. Physical wounds had healed, but emotional scars would take longer. The betrayal of those she once considered family had left an indelible mark on her trust. That night, as the four returned to the apartment they now shared for safety, Max suddenly froze in the parking lot. His body tensed, ears erect. Anna immediately recognized the stance. "What is it, friend?" she whispered, instinctively reaching for her firearm. The dog sniffed the night air, turning toward a dark vehicle parked at a distance. That subtle, unmistakable chemical scent drifted once again, like a ghost from the past. Dr. Chen and Mike exchanged concerned glances as Anna crouched beside Max. "Looks like our work is just beginning," the officer murmured, her heartbeat quickening. Max emitted a low growl, confirming what they all suspected. The battle for justice would never truly end. As long as hidden threats existed, they would be there to face them, bound together by a loyalty no conspiracy could sever.